Now, the International Atomic Energy Agency's chief, Rafael Grossi, has just stated that it is quite likely that about 15,000 centrifuges at Iran's main enrichment plant in Natanz were severely damaged or destroyed due to a power cut caused by the Israeli bombings. So this, of course, the latest bit of information that has come in, where the International Atomic Energy Agency chief, Rafael Grossi, has stated that it is quite likely that about 15,000 centrifuges at Iran's main enrichment plant in Natanz have been severely damaged or destroyed due to a power cut caused by the Israeli strike. All right, now joining us on the broadcast for more perspective, we've got Professor Scott Lucas, who is the Professor of International Politics at the Clinton Institute, University College in Dublin. Professor Lucas, what do you make of this latest statement by Rafael Grossi, who's now saying that about 15,000 centrifuges at the Natanz nuclear facility may have gotten damaged or destroyed due to a power failure brought about by the Israeli attack?
So I think the statement by the IAEA head, Rafael Grossi, confirms what we had suspected. There are two types of damage to the Natanz facility, which is one of the main facilities for enriching uranium. There is the above ground damage, which has come directly from the Israeli strikes. And that we know that some installations, including for the enrichment of uranium, were hit and were affected by this. But what Grossi is referring to is not that there was a strike on the underground portion of the nuclear facility. That remains intact. But when power was cut because of the above ground attacks, those centrifuges were suddenly rapidly taken, as it were, offline. And much as when you get a surge or a sudden loss of power to your appliances in your home, it can affect them. It affected these centrifuges where they at least are damaged. Now, how severely they are damaged, these 15,000, whether they are not operational for the short term or for the longer term, we'll wait to see. But at the very least, this is a setback to Iran's current enrichment of uranium, which is not to military grade, but is around at Natanz facility about 20%.
Interesting. Now, another facility that is being talked about a lot is the facility at Fordo, but it is being said that unless the Americans get involved, the Israelis on their own will not be able to inflict any kind of damage in that facility in Fordo. Do you, in the manner in which things are unfolding, do you foresee the Americans jumping pretty quickly into this war?
Well, first, your statement is right. The reason why the Israelis would have difficulty damaging Fordo is that, because of previous Iranian concerns about Israeli attacks, was built deep inside a mountain. So it is a fully underground facility with effectively this fortified rock around it. And you would really require what we call a bunker buster bomb, which the Americans have to get to it. Now, would the Americans do this? American officials are saying that they are not considering providing that type of support to Israel at this time. There is a difference, however, between these officials and the rather unpredictable Donald Trump. So far, the Trump administration has held the line against Netanyahu in terms of certain operations. You referred to the fact that Netanyahu asked the Americans, would they sanction the assassination of Iran's supreme leader? And the Trump administration has let it be known, or officials have let it be known, they would not support that. But Donald Trump has given Netanyahu a blank check against Iran so far, and he has kept issuing these threats to Iran that if they don't accept his deal, there will be worse to come. So I have to say, if this was a normal administration, no, I don't think the Americans would go as far as to join the Israelis in an attack on the Fordo facility, but this is not a normal administration.
And also considering, the kind of damage that cities such as Tel Aviv and Haifa have sustained in the last 4 nights of the Iranian reprisal to the Israeli Operation Rising Lion, are you surprised at the amount of damage that the Iranians have been able to inflict on the Israeli cities? Do you think Netanyahu would have factored this possibility?
I do think the Israelis expected some type of response from the Iranians. It was last year when, on two different occasions, in the spring and in the autumn, the Iranians, for the first time, were able to hit Israel with missiles. They have, a stock of a few thousand missiles at least that we know about. So we knew that they had both the quantity and the ability to reach Israel, and that no air defense, even as pervasive as Israel's is, could stop all of the missiles from getting through. And to just give you a scale, yes, the Israelis have suffered probably around about 30 deaths from Iranian missile strikes, but we're talking about several hundred who have been killed in Tehran from the Israeli strikes already, and probably more to come. So I think, Israel has taken some damage from Iran strikes, but I have to say the Iranians at this point appear to be, their weapons capability cannot match what Israel can throw at them. And that's why I think Tehran is very much on the defensive right now, both politically and militarily.
No, that's true. There is a clear disparity in terms of the technical prowess of these two nations. The Israelis, of course, have the very best of the weapons that are supplied to them by the Americans. This was something that was said by Donald Trump himself once the Israelis had carried out Operation Rising Lion. But this is something, the level of damage the Israeli cities such as Haifa and Tel Aviv have sustained, this has never happened before in the last 7 decades of Israeli existence. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu, who takes great pride in calling himself Mr. Security, has possibly led Israel into a war where the Israeli cities have come under some serious attack in a way that we've never witnessed before.
I think you make an interesting point. I think if Iran sustained these attacks for quite some time, that sort of erosion of public trust in Netanyahu might come up. But to make a general point, while Iran has not hit Israel with these missiles, of course, Israelis have almost had a culture of, living with the fear of attack and trying to deal with that because of conflicts with Lebanon in the past, because of conflicts with Hamas as well. Now, again, those rockets and those missiles that were fired are not as powerful as the ones that Iran are firing. But sort of the culture of having to go into the shelters, enduring the air raids, that's quite common in Israeli life. I think what is probably more threatening for Netanyahu here, if this continues within the next few days and goes into a few weeks, is not directly the Iranian attacks, but it's the conjunction that he's fighting 2 wars at the same time. Some people seem to have forgotten it, but let's remember, Israel's fighting an open-ended war in Gaza, and they still haven't defeated Hamas. Now, they have almost leveled that area. They're threatening to occupy it, to displace the people, but they haven't gotten their hostages back from Gaza. I think if you go into the next few weeks and Israelis are having to go into the shelters, the Iranian leadership hasn't given up, and they haven't gotten their hostages back from Gaza, then questions start to be asked of Netanyahu. But I don't think that occurs in the next few days.